Hey everybody, welcome to our first ever episode of State of the Nova Nation. We're so excited to be here tonight for the first time.
Yeah, we are really excited, and we have a great show planned for you guys tonight.
Yeah, we're doing it here in Gary's studio. It's brand new here on campus where we're doing this tonight.
Yeah.
My name is Pat Ralph.
And I'm Alexander Hernandez.
The purpose of the show is to recap and analyze Villanova sports and to provide new insight and outlook into the student athletes here at Villanova.
Each week, we have the chance to sit down with a Villanova student athlete and talk to them about their Villanova sports experience. This week, we sit down with Don Cherry, Villanova linebacker for the football team.
Along with football, we'll also be talking about men's soccer and some of the other sports news going on in the worldwide Nova Nation.
Now over to Jesse and Kristen for our football recap.
It was a tough night for the Villanova Wildcats on Thursday when they were taken down at home by the Penn Quakers, losing tough 24-13. Right now we've got a breakdown of the game, first half, second half. Let's see what we can do here. So for the Wildcats, first half, they seemed very sluggish. Penn Quakers were obviously on fire. Explain that for us.
Well, it was attitude differential. Penn came out, they were ready to play. They basically said, we've lost for 104 years straight, we're not losing again.
Crazy.
We're going to come out, we're going to play. And they set that tone as early as the first quarter. Their star quarterback, Alec Torgerson, he threw a touchdown pass to their star wide receiver, Justin Watson. Those two were clicking the whole first half. They were really going after Watson early and often. And it really set the tone for Penn. Their offense was just clicking the whole night. And honestly, Villanova's defense contained their running game a little bit. They limited both their running backs to around 3.5 yards per carry or so. But by and large, that didn't matter. The running game was just part of that attitude setting that Penn was doing. They just came out and they punched Villanova in the face. That's really what they did.
Yeah. So Villanova's being forced to punt constantly.
Yeah.
The defense is on the field looking gassed, tired, all during the first half. How can they fix that going forward, just the defense in itself?
Well, honestly, you can't fix the defense being on the field for 25 minutes. The reason the defense was on the field for 25 minutes is, well, Penn had the ball for 25 minutes. And it's a great defensive effort when you're on the field for 25 minutes and you only surrender 14 points. And honestly, to me, there was nothing really wrong with the defense. It's just, Penn had the ball for so much of the game that they're going to give up points. You could throw the Seattle Seahawks in there and they're going to give up a score eventually. And the problems that Villanova have right now lie on the offensive side of the ball.
Definitely. It's going into the half, 14-0. Could have been 21-0.
Could have been.
Thankfully from Malik Reeves, who had an interception. It wasn't enough time to kind of convert that to another touchdown. They did get to the half with a little bit of gas, a little more fire. Bringing it to the second half, how do you think Nova's offense did compared to the first, Penn's offense compared to the first?
Well, they clearly did better. Bernardzik, he was still running for his life. He was doing that the whole game. And the reason he was running for his life is because they have a patchwork offensive line right now. They lost starters Brad Seaton and Ethan Greenidge for the last couple games. And because of that, they had to stick a tight end at left tackle, and they had to move one of their guards over to center. And because of that, the pass protection is just not going to be as good. And Bernardzik, he didn't really have time to set his feet in the pocket, make his progressions, and make the throws that he needed to make because of this patchwork offensive line. But despite that, they were looking a little better in the first half. They started running some sweeps to the outside. They ran a little more read option. And because of that, I think the offense got a little more in the groove, and they were definitely not as stagnant as they were in the first half. But there was still a little bit of work to do.
Yeah. They did have a second touchdown in the second half. Wasn't enough effort, wasn't enough time. They pushed at the end. But we've got a bye week coming up, William & Mary next week. What can they do moving forward? How can they push this offense to keep them on fire, keep the defense not on the field as long, get them going, give them some motivation? What can they do?
What can they do? Kristen, they got to come in angry. Yeah. Guess what? You know what? You just snapped a 104-year losing streak to a team that was almost always chalked off as a win on your schedule. That's got to upset you. That's got to make you angry. You have to come into William & Mary, and you're in a bye week right now too. You're in a bye week. You have to nurse what injuries you can. Now, there are some players who won't be able to come back in. John Robertson, for instance, he's out for pretty much the rest of the season. Brad Seaton, who was the starting left tackle who I just brought up earlier, he's out for the rest of the season. I forgot that it was an undisclosed knee injury. He's gone. You have to nurse what injuries you can. You have to take the extra time from the bye week to really get Bernardzik to learn the offense. Because as you saw in the Penn game, they weren't doing very many complicated passing plays like they would with, say, Robertson. You have to throw Bernardzik in there. You have to teach him basic passing concepts and slowly develop him into the quarterback that Villanova wants. I think Bernardzik has more than enough potential to be the franchise quarterback of Villanova after Robertson goes on and graduates, but you got to develop him. You can't just throw him to the Wolves right away.
Yeah, there you go. You guys heard it here. Villanova's sitting at 2-2 overall right now, so we're going to send it back to you in the studio.
Be sure to catch the Villanova Wildcats back in action on October 10th versus William and Mary.
Now on to the other football, as in soccer, as the men's soccer team played this past weekend. Let's send it to Lexi and Patrick with the recap on how men's soccer did.
Villanova men's soccer is now 4-3 for the season after a strong out-of-conference start. The Cats had 3 straight wins, but unfortunately suffered back-to-back losses. Patrick, what happened? We had a 3-0 start?
Well, it was a great start, and that's exactly what this team wanted. I mean, you want to start the out-of-conference play 3-0, especially with that really strong win against Delaware in the 3rd game of the season. That game had the momentum to propel them into a great conference play, which is what this team exactly wants. And I think they had the chance to keep it up, but they did have back-to-back losses after that, and I think that's what killed them right now.
Right, so as we mentioned, the Cats suffered back-to-back losses against Temple and Monmouth, but took it back the next weekend against Stony Brook with a 1-point win. Now, all we're hearing about is this Big East opener against Butler. Happened last Saturday. The Cats took on the Bulldogs, but unfortunately suffered a 3-0 loss. Now, Coach Carlin did say that defense was lacking in the final third. Patrick, what do we think? Was the defense weak?
Well, absolutely. It was a tough loss for the team, and you hate to see that after such a strong start, but honestly, they really killed themselves in this game. Yes, they only had 1 yellow card in the game, but it was the 10 fouls that killed them. You have 10 fouls a game, that's going to break up your rhythm, and you're not going to be able to score goals that you need to win the game. Combine that with the fact that they got outshot 12-6 in the first half, you're just not going to win a game if you don't show up like that in the first half.
Right. Well, the Cats will take on LaSalle this Wednesday. So what do we think? What are we watching for this Wednesday? What do we hope?
Well, this game is a big chance for this team to establish itself as one of the best teams in the greater Philadelphia area. And they have the chance to do that this Wednesday. If they can have a really strong showing against a great Big 5 opponent right before they go into conference play, I think they have the ability to get fans out here on this field and show what a great team they are.
Absolutely. Now, are there any players to watch?
Absolutely. The player you need to watch is Patrick McCullough. He is absolutely the best player in this team. Already has 4 goals on the season, more than anyone else. If the team can get the ball to him more around the net, I think they have the ability to beat anyone in this conference.
I certainly hope so. Good luck to our Cats this Wednesday as they face off against LaSalle.
Here at Villanova University, we are innovators of change, passionate in our pursuit of perfection. For over 150 years, we have been leaders in academics and athletics. Our state-of-the-art facilities inspire students to achieve greatness.
We are Nova Nation!
Ignite change. Go Nova.
Weekly conversation. We'll send it to Eugene Rapay with Villanova linebacker Don Cherry.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rapay, and I'm here now with Don Cherry, All-American linebacker for the football team. So Don, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. It's a little rainy right now, but all in all, it's a good day.
So let's backtrack a little bit, to the Sam Houston game. What was going through your mind during that game?
Well, leading up to that game and all preparation, I think we had a really good team, experienced team, just from the whole season, all the ups and downs we had, and the 1-point, 2-point victory. So I think that in all the scenarios I played out in my head, that pretty much I thought we could win this game. I thought Sam Houston was a good team, but I just thought we were flat out better than them. But in that day, Sam Houston played a great game, and it came down to the last drive where the defense could make the stop and essentially win the game. We couldn't get it done, and then the offense went down, and we missed the field goal to tie it up. So it was definitely a tough game, but just looking back at it, I think it was really good for our team, just to learn and grow from it as players and as people.
Now, how does a game like that affect the locker room going into the season? So what was the mood like during the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, the offseason was definitely, we always had that hanging on our shoulder, so it was kind of a little bit of a chip on our shoulder for a lot of the guys, especially defensive guys, because, our mantra all year was, staying together, and no matter what situation we get put in, we're going to get off the field. So not getting off the field on the last drive and letting them get the go-ahead score was definitely hard for us. So especially on the defensive side, we had the chip on our shoulder. But, going throughout the whole offseason, we just wanted to get better offensively and defensively, and we kind of just took that loss as a wake-up call, to if we want to, get to that where the air is rare, as Coach Talley would say, we got to do the little things. And Sam Houston State was just an example of how, maybe if we did just little things throughout the season, Coach Talley always preaches that maybe we could sneak out that victory and we'd be on the plane to North Dakota State.
So for you personally, what were your goals heading into this season, your senior year?
I try not to set too many goals in terms of X amount of tackles, X amount of sacks, but I just wanted to get better as a player and as a person. So on the field, I wanted to be assignment sound, and no matter what I was doing on the field, I wanted to be able to A, do my job, and then B, maybe extend my job to help out other people on the field. And that was the main focus for me, is just getting better, cutting down the mistakes, because I saw places in my game where I could get better. So that's what I tried to focus on, not so much the numbers or the stats, just being a better teammate and being a better player.
Overall, the defense has played pretty well so far this season, played very tough, especially during the Fordham and Delaware games. And in the Penn game, you guys did what you had to do. You guys were out on the field for 20 minutes in the first half. What is your comment? What is your feeling on the defense so far this season?
Yeah, I think we're playing really hard. I think at some times we are playing out of our minds and playing really aggressive, having a lot of fun. And then sometimes I think we let the offense's slow tempo maybe, or if they're getting a lot of 3 and outs, I think we let that slip into our mind a little bit too much. So that slows us down a little bit, and maybe sometimes leads to finger pointing. So we definitely want to avoid that, and that's been a big hitting point, through this weekend. I've been texting everyone saying, don't point the finger, just keep getting better, support your teammates, and don't worry about what the offense does. So from our point of view, I think that we have a really special, team in general, but I think the defense is something that's really special. We fly around, we're fast, and in those games, I think the biggest thing we struggle with is getting off the field on third down. So we get ourselves in great positions sometimes, and on third down, we just can't get off the field. So, in terms of the defense, I think we just need to stick together, number one, and then number two, just get off the field on third down. I think we're going to be in a lot better positions in the game.
I know you tried to not think about the offense too much, but John Robertson goes down. In comes redshirt freshman Zach Bednarzik. As one of the veterans on this team, what do you have to say about his play so far and what he's brought to the team?
Well, I've seen Zach obviously since he's been a young freshman here, and he's progressed really well. I think in spring he got a lot of the reps because John was just taking it a little bit easier. He was coming off just being banged up from the season, so he took spring a little bit easy, and that helped him get healthier because he knew his reads. But it actually helped Zach a lot, get more experience and get a lot of confidence. He was working with the 1 receivers, the 1 O-line, the 1 running back, so I think that really helped his chemistry with that whole entire unit. So when I saw John go down, obviously I was very upset. There's no player quite like John with his crab run sideways to break tackles. But when I saw Zach going, I was confident that he was going to be able to get it done, and I think he did a great job in the Delaware game. And in the Penn game, I mean, it's just the learning curve sometimes is tough, and when a team has a long time to scheme on you and scheme around your injuries, I think Penn did a great job of doing that, but I think Zach's only going to grow from here and get better.
Now it's plenty of football left, very early in the season. What are your thoughts on the season so far, and where do you think it can go in the weeks leading?
Well, the biggest thing we've been preaching is that we're 1-0 in the CAA, and that's the league that really matters. So CAA football is a little crazy, and anyone can get beat by any other team at any time. So a team like Towson, who looks like a powerhouse, can get beat by a team like Elon, like last week. Or New Hampshire can go down and beat Stony Brook and then get killed by William & Mary. It's just a kind of a crazy league like that. So, losing to a team like UPenn really hurts us. It hurts our confidence, but we just have to remember that. We're 1-0 in the league. We can go anywhere we want with this season. I think this is going to be a defining game for us either way. It's either going to be, hopefully not, but it could be a bad season if we let this game define us. But if we let this game define us in a positive way, I think we're going to have a great season. I told a lot of the players that only the strongest swords are made in the darkest of fires. So that was kind of my little thing to them, that this might be a dark moment in time for our season, but if we actually learn from this and build on it, we can get even stronger.
So you guys obviously have a bye week coming up. What does the football team do during a bye week? What happens then?
Obviously we practice, we get to put on the pads and hit a little bit, which is nice. We get to run around a little faster, not, worrying about having that game at the end of the week, and then we get to lift a little harder. Today we had a great lift, we get to fly around a little bit more in the weight room, and then, we get to relax a little bit. This weekend we had off, so I went down to the beach, relaxed, just hung out. It was nice to kind of decompress from football for a little bit. And the same goes for a lot of the players. They just took their time off and got some well-needed rest and well-deserved rest. So now we're focusing back in it. We're going to fly around tomorrow at practice.
So what's next for Don Cherry? After this season, I know it's very early. Do you plan on going to the NFL? Do you plan on going further?
I just, kind of live my life one day at a time. People always ask me, like, oh, you want to go to the NFL, this and that. And I always tell them, I don't even know what I'm going to have for breakfast tomorrow. So I can't tell you what I'm going to do. But, I'd love to do it. I think it's been my dream since I was a little kid. My mom told me I was always made for football, running around with my New York Giants helmet and my dad's shoes in the house, pretending I was on the Giants. So it's always been a dream of mine. It's always been in the back of my mind. But I kind of try to keep it there in the back of my mind and not try to let it affect my play too much right now.
All right, Don, thank you for coming on, talk with us. Once again, Don Cherry. I'll send it back now to Brendan Donovan with the final rundown before we wrap up our show. Take it away, Brendan.
Hi, I'm Brendan Donovan, the sports director at WXVU Villanova, and also I will be providing scores and schedules for the rest of Villanova athletics throughout this year. Women's volleyball currently sits at 11-4 after losing to Creighton in the Big East opener. Amanda Peterson-Henry and Claire Crutchfield had 12 kills each. They will return home this weekend for home games against Marquette and DePaul. Field hockey picked up back-to-back big wins and have scored 10 goals in their last 2 games. They have improved to 3-6. The men's and women's cross-country teams are getting ready for their meets this weekend. The men's team will be at the Pole Short Run in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, while the women's team will be returning to Princeton, where they won the Invitational last year. The women's soccer team is looking to get back on track at home this Thursday afternoon. The Wildcats will clash against rival Georgetown in search of their second win of the season. That's it for sports and schedules this week. We'll send it back to Pat and Alexandra in the studio.
Thanks for joining us for our first episode of State of the Nova Nation, and be sure to tune in next week for even more sports talk and sports analysis.
Well, I guess this was pretty cool tonight. We did a pretty good job for the first time,
it was good. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're starting to get the hang of it a little bit.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah,
we got a good flow going on.
Yeah, I like the chemistry. We're really getting along well here.
Yeah.
Yes, so some big sporting events for Villanova this weekend, the volleyball game, soccer.
Yeah, so I hope that people who went out to the football game last week will go to those games as well, because we need as many fans as we can get.
Of course, and hopefully too, soccer and volleyball will have a little more success than our football team did last weekend.
Yeah, that heartbreaking loss to Penn.
Yeah. First time in 104 years. Like, think about all the presidents that have been elected, 2 world wars. It's just crazy. We play Penn almost every year, and it takes them 104 years. Think about that's a long time they haven't beaten us. That's
I know.
Crazy.
They must have brought their A game.
Yeah, I think so. And Villanova's going to have to bring it against William & Mary when they're back in action in a couple of weeks, Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to our show. We really appreciate you watching our first episode. Make sure to tune in next week. We'll have more great stuff like Alex was talking about. As I said, my name is Pat Ralph.
And I'm Alexandra Hernandez.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. That was good.
Yeah, that was really good.
Fun,
Yeah, that was even better. Like good talking.
Hey guys, great show tonight. I love this.